Guten Abend, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow administrative hostages of modern geopolitics. Welcome back to Outside Views POV, broadcasting to you from Germany, where our biggest political drama this week involved a heated municipal dispute or whether a local garbage collection route should be optimized using AI or a very experienced pensioner named Günther. And meanwhile, across the Atlantic, during these magnificent 7 days between August 16th and August 23rd, the American political entertainment complex has reached a state of pure, unadulterated performance art that leaves us European onlookers caught between deep existential dread and ordering another pretzel. And if you thought last week was strange, the last 7 days in the United States have redefined the parameters of global satire. We have witnessed an emergency trade war declared on wooden tongue depressors, military diplomacy conducted via late-night social media rants, a sudden urge to rename giant warships after living presidents, and official public health data confirming that medical advice given by reality television icons actually affects real-life kindergarteners. So grab your dark roast coffee, check your local quiet hour regulations, and let us dissect the week that was. And let us begin at the northern border, where the chief executive of transatlantic friction, that is Donald Trump, decided that America's greatest national security threat was not hostile foreign powers or inflation, but rather the peaceful nation of Canada. On Saturday, August 22nd, the United States officially slapped a staggering 50% tariff on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. Now, when a country imposes emergency economic sanctions, you usually expect it to target enriched uranium, microprocessors, or advanced military hardware. What did Washington put on the economic hit list? Hockey sticks, dairy products, non-alcoholic beer, and wooden medical tongue depressors. Because nothing says standing up to global competitors quite like making sure that your local doctor pays double for the little wooden stick he puts in your throat. In response, Canadian Prime Minister Marc immediately announced a dollar-for-dollar retaliatory package, vowing that maple syrup sovereignty would not bow to economic intimidation. To which Vice President J.D. Vance reportedly responded by mocking the Canadian leadership for trying to out-tough the White House on trade policy. And yeah, I saw a speech from J.D. Vance about that. But think about the geopolitical genius here. The world's primary economic superpower has successfully engineered a high-stakes standoff over sporting goods and wooden ice cream sticks with its quietest neighbor. In Germany, if we had a trade dispute with Austria over sky poles, or sheep poles as we would call them, we would form 3 parliamentary subcommittees and hold a 5-year economic seminar. In Washington, they simply flipped the entire global supply chain upside down before breakfast because someone in Ottawa looked at them with a mild lack of enthusiasm. Speaking of strategic genius, let us look at the Department of Sudden Foreign Policy changes. Just hours before the United States and South Korea were scheduled to launch their massive annual joint military exercise known as Alchi Freedom Shield, the commander in grievance took to his Truth Social account to announce that he was ordering Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to substantially reduce the drills. And why? Because, as the president explained to the world, the exercises are far too expensive, and he has a very warm personal friendship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who might find the exercises slightly impolite. And think about the sheer elegance of this diplomacy. You have thousands of troops deployed, ships positioned, and complex operational plans finalized, and then the president wakes up, looks at his phone, and says that military readiness is sending a hostile signal to a dictator who regularly tests ballistic missiles over the ocean. Sorry, generals, turn the battleships around. Kim and I are pals and pen pals, and he gets very sensitive when we drive our big boats near his shoreline. If the German military operated like this, our defense minister would cancel our military drills because he did not want to disturb the weekend sleeping schedule of neighboring wildlife. And Pete Hegseth, he did not stop there. Early in the week, the Secretary of War went to Panama and announced during a jungle drill that the United States was expanding its anti-drug bombing campaign from international waters onto the ground inside Central American nations. He proudly proclaimed that Colombia, Honduras, and Guatemala had all agreed to allow American troops to conduct military operations on their sovereign soil. There was only one small problem with this grand geopolitical announcement. Guatemala immediately put out an official public statement saying they had literally never agreed to any such thing. Well, you have to love modern military communication. You just announced to the global press that you are conducting joint ground operations inside another sovereign country, and when that country says, "Excuse me, no, you aren't," you simply smile and pretend it was all part of the multi-layered strategic narrative. Meanwhile, back in the Naval Hardware Department, reports surfaced this week that officials are considering stripping the name of a future Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carrier, a massive ship originally designated to honor World War II Black naval hero Doris Miller, so they can rename the vessel after Donald Trump instead. Because if there's one thing an $11 billion nuclear-powered aircraft carrier needs to inspire fear in global adversaries, it's being named after a former real estate mogul who spent his presidency complaining about low-flow shower heads and wind turbines. Imagine sailing that ship into international waters. Opponents wouldn't know whether to prepare for battle or expect an offer for luxury oceanfront condos. And over in the realm of public health and creative statistics, the Centers for Disease Control released new national kindergarten data on Saturday, revealing that routine vaccination rates among American children have dropped, while non-medical exemptions hit an all-time record high. Medical experts immediately linked this trend to public claims made by the White House, where the president recently informed voters that pediatric vaccine needles look like the size of a soda bottle. In Germany, if a politician went on national television and claimed that doctors were injecting toddlers with 40-ounce soft drink containers, we would gently escort them to a quiet wellness retreat in the Bavarian Alps. In the United States, it becomes a core topic of administrative health philosophy. And to ensure that democracy remains entirely stress-free as we head toward the midterms, the administration announced this week that it plans to deploy 1,000 federal election monitors to polling stations across the country. Voting rights experts immediately expressed total skepticism, pointing out that sending a battalion of federal agents to oversee local ballot boxes sounds less like safeguarding democracy and more like setting up a high-stakes security checkpoint at a suburban elementary school. And when you sit back here in Münster and look at the sheer velocity of events coming out of Washington over the last 7 days, you realize that American politics is no longer an exercise in traditional governance. It is a self-sustaining content engine designed to keep the entire planet in a perpetual state of administrative whiplash. Between taxing Canadian hockey sticks, cancelling Asian defense drills for the sake of dictator friendships, promising jungle operations in countries that haven't agreed to them, and sizing pediatric needles like movie theater fountain drinks, the superpower across the ocean remains the undisputed heavyweight champion of political satire. So keep your ways pre-sorted, stay calm, and remember that no matter how chaotic your own week was, at least you didn't have to draft a trade embargo against wooden tongue depressors. Gute Nacht.